is the FPL Draft Zone, your fantasy team's best signing of the season.
Hello and welcome to the FPL Draft Zone, a podcast all about draft FPL. I'm Dom Crofts. I hope you are well, and I hope, like me, you are surviving this dull, tedious, nonsensical international break. Some players, key players, have not survived this break, and we'll move on to them a little bit later when we do a full Game Week 12 preview. We'll also have those all-important waiver picks for you. But before we do any of that, it's our usual plea from me to you, and I will keep it short and sweet this week. To please, if you're watching on YouTube, like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. And similarly, if you listen to us on a podcast platform of your choosing, please ensure you are subscribed to the pod, and please just take 15 to 20 seconds of your time to leave us a 5-star review and some kind words. It really helps with this mysterious thing called the algorithm, and that algorithm is key to ensuring this show continues. So please, 20 seconds of your time max, 5-star review and a lovely comment or two. Enough about that though. Let's get going with Game Week 12, which starts on Saturday, the 22nd of November, 2025, with a 12:30 kickoff between lowly Burnley and semi-high-flying Chelsea. It's a game you would expect the Blues to win. We shall see who their best picks on the waivers are in just a moment. It's Bournemouth taking on West Ham, who are reinvigorated under Nuno Espirito Santo. Brighton take on Brentford, whose underlying statistics suggest they could be one of the surprise packages of the season. And Fulham take on the surprise package of the season at Craven Cottage when they take on 4th place Sunderland. At Anfield, Liverpool look set to get their season back on track with a game against Nottingham Forest. Wolves under Rob Edwards have a home game against Crystal Palace. And then the evening kickoff on Saturday sees Newcastle United take on Manchester City. City will go into this one high on confidence after beating Liverpool and with a track record that is going to take some beating. Their form at St James's Park over the years has been sublime. It's Leeds against Aston Villa who kick off Sunday's fixtures. That one takes place at 2:00. And then it's the North London derby at the Emirates Stadium as Arsenal take on Spurs. Lots to talk about with both those sides when it comes to the waivers. The game week wraps up on Monday night, the 24th of November, 2025, with an 8:00 kickoff between Manchester United and Everton. So let's start with that 12:30 game between Burnley and Chelsea. Chelsea are unbeaten in the last 11 meetings between these sides. They've won 8 of those 11 meetings, and Cole Palmer loves a game against Burnley. He's got 3 goals in his last 2 appearances against them. This game may well come too soon for him, but I wouldn't rule him out being on the bench. We will find out more ahead of that game when Enzo Maresca conducts his pre-match press conference. The last meeting at Turf Moor ended 4-1 to the Blues, and that was back in 2023. So waiver picks for this one. First up, Burnley. Florentino, their midfielder, returned to DEFCON beast mode in the defeat at West Ham. He picked up 18 defensive contributions. It's his first return in that regard in the last 3 game weeks. He has got 5 defensive contribution returns in 8 matches now. So he is a bit of a surefire bet. And if you're looking for someone who can rack up 4 points on a weekly basis, you could do a lot worse than pick up Florentino. Leslie Ugachukwu is a more ambitious asset if you fancy a more attacking Burnley midfielder. He's got 3 attacking returns in his last 5 games. And across those 5 games, he's averaged 5.4 points per match. As for Chelsea, and you'd have to fancy Chelsea to go to Turf Moor and win this one, Alejandro Garnacho is a bit of a flavour of the month down at Stamford Bridge. He's got 3 attacking returns in his last 3 games now. Seems to have cemented that left-hand spot of the attack. And he got 1.54 XGI in the win over Wolves in game week 11. Picked up 2 assists in that one. Further forward, Liam Delap started that game as well. Had a minimal impact, but it's only a matter of time, you would think, before he does have a decent impact. Hit double figures for Ipswich last season and playing with better players this season, including João Pedro, who has certainly benefited from his presence in the Chelsea team. His form has picked up considerably over the last few weeks. And with doubts about Enzo Fernandez's fitness, you would expect Delap to be involved in this one. At the back for Chelsea, Wesley Fofana has started the last 2 games now, picked up 2 clean sheets in that time as well. Without doubt, he is a first choice centre-back for Chelsea when he is fit. He is fit at the moment, and Burnley have the second worst record for XG in the Premier League. So you certainly would expect Chelsea to win this one and quite possibly keep a clean sheet as well. If Fofana's not your thing, Marlo Gusto may well be available on the waivers as well, although he will be in high demand, having got a 15-point return in that win over Wolves. It's Bournemouth taking on West Ham at the Vitality Stadium. 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two sides have ended in draws, with West Ham winning the other. West Ham a bit of a bogey team for Bournemouth, and Jared Bowen has 2 goals in his last 3 games against Bournemouth. Bournemouth haven't actually beaten West Ham since way back in 2019, which was 10 matches ago, and that was a game that saw Callum Wilson, now of West Ham, score in a 2-0 win for Bournemouth. As for Bournemouth assets in this one, Alex Jimenez was dropped for the 4-0 defeat to Aston Villa. He'd started the previous 3 as Bournemouth's right back. He is a much more attack-minded fullback than Adam Smith, who did start that game against Aston Villa. And I would expect him to come into this one, given it is a home game and given it is against West Ham. Bournemouth, I'm sure, will go into this one expecting to win. The only downside to Jimenez is he does have a bit of a disciplinary issue. 4 yellow cards already for him. If he picks up another booking, he will be suspended, but he will be available for this one. If you don't like the looks of Jimenez, Bafodo Diakite was also dropped from that game against Villa, and I would expect him, like Jimenez, to start in this match. Also, I would expect to see Justin Kluivert start in this match. He started 2 of the last 3 now for the Cherries, and Bournemouth's fixture run looks good for the foreseeable. They've got 3 home games in their next 4, starting with this game against West Ham. Then they travel to the Stadium of Light to take on Sunderland before home matches against Everton and Chelsea. I'd expect Kluivert to pick up returns in at least a couple of them. And if Kluivert is not available on the waivers, maybe Marcus Tavernier is. He started the last 5 games now in which he's got 2 returns. And even in that defeat to Aston Villa, he racked up 0.48 XGI. So he's getting into decent positions. He's got 2.8 XGI overall for the season. If you think West Ham are going to go to the South Coast and win, Thomas Souček could be a decent asset for you to plunder. Lucas Paquetá is suspended for this one, so Thomas Souček will almost certainly start, and he's certainly in form. 18 points for him in the last 2 game weeks, and of course he got 11 attacking returns last season with 9 goals and 2 assists. I'd fancy Bournemouth to win this one, though, so I would certainly be prioritising Bournemouth assets over West Ham ones. At the Amex, it's Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Brentford. Brighton have actually never lost at home to Brentford in the Premier League. 3 of the last 5 meetings have ended in draws, including last season's game at the Amex. Brentford actually won the game at the G-Tech last season 4-2 with Mbumo, Wissa and Norgard scoring the goals. You will note, of course, that Mbumo, Wissa and Norgard, none of them are at Brentford anymore. So who's going to get the goals for them this weekend? Thiago, if they score, I imagine. Let's take a look at some options for you, though. First up from Brighton, Diego Gomez has started the last 2 games now in which he's got 2 goals. Even in the 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace, he racked up 0.46 XGI, so could easily have added to that tally. The only risk if you're looking at Gomez as a possible pickup is the imminent return of Karo Matoma, who has been injured for the vast majority of this season, but is on the cusp of a return to first-team action. Mats Vifa is another midfield option for you. He started the last 5. Brighton have picked up 2 clean sheets in that time. Vifa is very much your DEFCON mode midfielder. Last 4 game weeks, he's got 13 defensive contributions, 16 defensive contributions, 13 and 11, missing the threshold by 1. Further back for Brighton, Ferdi Kadioglu is starting regularly after he missed a lot of last season with injuries. Played the last 8 games from the start now, racked up only 1.0 XGI. But if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see his heat map from that match against Crystal Palace, and he is occupying very positive positions. A bit like Alex Zinchenko used to play for Arsenal, very much adding himself as an optional extra midfielder and also across some set pieces as well. As for Brentford, all sorts of options for you from them, particularly their midfielders. Kevin Schade has 5 attacking returns for the season, including 3 in his last 5 matches. Dango Ouattara won a penalty last time out against Newcastle. He's got 4 attacking returns for the season, including 3 in his last 3 games. Nathan Collins is an interesting option for you. He was obviously high on the DEFCON list at the start of the season. Brentford have actually got the 4th best defence based on expected goals conceded so far this season. That's according to Understat. And he's got 3 defensive contribution returns in his last 4 games. If Collins isn't available, Sepp van den Berg has 5 defensive contribution returns for the season, and he has hit 9 defensive contributions twice so far, so missing the threshold by just 2. And suddenly that would be 7 returns out of 11. It's Fulham taking on Sunderland at Craven Cottage. Fulham have only won 1 of the last 5 games between these sides at Craven Cottage. So Sunderland will go into this one high on confidence, given their form this season, but also historically at Fulham. Their last Premier League home win against the Black Cats Fulham came way back in 2012, although they did meet in the FA Cup in 2023, and Fulham did win that one 3-2 after a replay with Harry Wilson among the scorers. And Harry Wilson is a player we'll be talking about in just a moment. But first up, Alex Iwobi is the man we want to focus on. He's racked up 2.13 XGI for the season, got 3 attacking returns over the course of his first 11 appearances. Fulham are desperate for a return to form. They're struggling at the wrong end of the table, question marks over their manager's future. There's injuries as well, which we're going to discuss in just a moment. They need a win, and this is the start of some big matches for them. Over their next 6 games, they have Sunderland at home in game week 12. They go to Burnley, and they have a home game against Nottingham Forest as well. They really need to pick up points in those 3 games if they're going to avoid a relegation dogfight. And Alex Iwobi is a key man for them. Harry Wilson has also shown fine form when he's been given a first start or 2 this season. 3 attacking returns for him so far this season. 2 goals in his last 3 games at Craven Cottage as well. You would expect Sunderland to turn up with a pretty low block, and Harry Wilson is a fine player when it comes to shooting from long range. So I suspect he'll have a few pops in this one, and who knows, maybe he'll beat Robin Roofs from range. That's not easy to say when you've had a beer. Up front, Fulham have got some bad news, and that is that Rodrigo Muniz is out until the new year. Fulham posted this over the international break. Rodrigo Muniz underwent scans, and the club sought specialist opinion following our game at Everton last weekend. He will have surgery to his hamstring over the coming days and is expected to return to action early in the new year. And that means that Raul Jimenez is a very real option for your draft team if he is still available on the waivers. There's been all sorts of question marks as to who is Fulham's first choice striker. Well, now we know Jimenez is their first choice striker. He has traveled over the international break with Mexico, and he has, of course, struggled to find full fitness so far this season, but the options are so slim at Fulham, you would have to assume Jimenez will start against Sunderland. If he doesn't, they have been playing a system which has seen Adama Traore and Harry Wilson essentially play as 2 false 9s. So we'll see if that is replicated if Jimenez is not available for this one, but I would fully expect him to start against Sunderland, given the importance of that match. As for Sunderland, another striker option for you is Brian Brobby. He scored that equaliser in the last minute, of course, against Arsenal. He's actually got 2 attacking returns in his last 3 games. They've come across just 49 minutes of action, although his minutes have been increasing game on game. And what's interesting about Brian Brobby is he initially turned down a move to Sunderland. Sky Sports Keith on X posted that Brobby had initially decided to stay at Ajax until he saw the model at Sunderland taking shape and was made aware of the calibre of players arriving on Wearside. And the reason I'm flagging this is that Brobby has signed a 5-year contract at Sunderland. He was initially not convinced to join, and then he signed a 5-year contract. Now, that to me says that he has been guaranteed a first-team place, and he's surely going to get in that first team sooner rather than later. The form is starting to show, and I think it's only a matter of games now before Brian Brobby starts up front for Sunderland, and he's shown already that he's capable of scoring goals. It's Liverpool taking on Nottingham Forest at Anfield as Liverpool look to get their season back on track following that 3-0 defeat at the Etihad to Manchester City in game week 11. Forest won this fixture last season with Callum Hudson-Odoi getting the only goal of the game, but that was a very different Liverpool side and a very different Nottingham Forest side. And prior to last season, Liverpool had won the last 6 meetings between these sides at Anfield, racking up 20 goals in the process. So last season certainly looks a little bit like it may have been a blip. In 17 career meetings with Liverpool, Sean Dyche has won just 3 games and he has lost 12. So all signs point to a Liverpool victory. But who do you get on the waivers from a team like Liverpool? Well, there could be some Dominic Szoboszlais available. His XGI over the last 6 games, 0.45, 0.59, 0.11, 0.26, 0.38, and 0.05 against Manchester City. So certainly 3 or 4 of those very positive underlying statistics for Szoboszlai, who is certainly now a midfielder and not a right back. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist for the season so far. I would expect him to add to that tally sooner rather than later based on those underlying statistics of late. And the reason he's playing in midfield and not at right back now is because Liverpool have stumbled back upon Connor Bradley. He started the last 7 now. Liverpool defensively have been bad this season. They rank 16th for expected goals conceded, but their fixtures are an absolute dream. And if they're going to turn their season around, now is the time they're going to do it. They have a home game against Forest this weekend. Then it's a trip to West Ham, a home game against Sunderland, a trip to Leeds, and a home game against Brighton. I would expect Liverpool to win at least 4 of those matches, and I think they would be extremely disappointed if they didn't. As for Nottingham Forest assets, the only one really that stood out to me last weekend was Taiwo Awoniyi, and that's because he's very much the forgotten man of Nottingham Forest. A few seasons ago, looked like a very talented striker. I remember he gave Arsenal a few nightmares. Had 31 minutes against Leeds. He's played 133 minutes in his last 4 games. He's very much the archetypal Sean Dyche striker. And with Chris Wood still potentially out for this one, it would not surprise me, especially when you consider Liverpool's ropey defensive form, if Dyche elects Taiwo Awoniyi to lead the line. If he doesn't, I'd certainly expect him to get minutes over the next 4 games, which are also decent for Forest. After Liverpool, they have a home game against Brighton, then a relegation 6-pointer away at Wolves, and then they go to the Hill Dickinson to take on Everton. It's Wolves taking on Crystal Palace at Molineux as Rob Edwards starts a new era for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Crystal Palace are actually unbeaten in the last 4 meetings between these two, and they've won the last 3. Last season's game at Molineux ended in a draw, 2 apiece, with Jorgen Strand Larsen and Mark Gahey amongst the goals. And Wolves have failed to win any of their past 16 league games now across 2 seasons. So they desperately need to find a win from somewhere. Will it come against Crystal Palace in Rob Edwards' first game? We'll know by about 5 o'clock on Saturday evening. As for Wolves' assets to consider, John Arias is one that we're contemplating because Rob Edwards has a preferred formation that he has utilised at every club he's been at, and that is a 3-4-2-1 formation, playing 2 attack-minded midfielders behind 1 solitary striker, and that is John Arias's bag. He's picked up 1.5 XGI so far this season, no attacking returns, been in and out of the side under the previous management. But I suspect if Wolves are going to have any chance of survival, they need to get the best out of players like John Arias, and I would expect him to start in this one as one of those 2 attacking midfielders. Alternatives to Arias are Jon Rickner Bellegarde and Fer Lopez. I suspect Fer Lopez will get the nod over Bellegarde as that second attack-minded midfielder, but it could easily be Bellegarde. So let's see who Rob Edwards goes for in this one, but I'd certainly fancy Arias over the other 2 as a starter. As for Crystal Palace, their key assets are almost certainly all taken, but with the injury to Mark Gahey from Gameweek 11, we don't know how bad it is. He obviously wasn't available for England. JD Camvo came into the game against Brighton and was exceptional. Picked up 10 points in that one, racked up 15 defensive contributions as well. Looked cool, looked calm, looked wise beyond his years. And if Gahey is out of this one, I would look at Camvo as a very real option for you at the back. We'll have to wait and see what Oliver Glasner says about Mark Gahey in his pre-match press conference. But if the news is bad for Gahey, Camvo is very much someone who should come into your thoughts as a defensive pickup. Further forward, we're back on the Yeremy Pino train, guys. Still to return for Crystal Palace this season, despite racking up 2.4 XGI. But take a look at his underlying numbers. In Game Week 3, he played just 19 minutes and got just 0.03 XGI. But in Game Week 4, 0.76. Game Week 5, 0.37. The same again in Game Week 6, 0.37. Dropped a bit in Game Week 7 to 0.26. Game Week 8, 0.20, which, let's face it, still not too bad. Game Week 9 went to the Emirates and managed just 0.01, but that seems to be a theme throughout the season unless you're Sunderland. In Game Week 10, it was up to 0.12. And in game week 11, 0.29. So decent underlying numbers in the main. And it is only a matter of time, I'm sure, before Pino delivers. And this is a game against a side that have not won a match for 16 league games. So if he's ever going to return, perhaps it will come in a game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Crystal Palace particularly good on the road as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was a day where Yeremy Pino really shone. It's Newcastle taking on Manchester City in the early evening kickoff at St James's Park. And Manchester City, having smashed Liverpool last time out, will go into this one high on confidence from that result and also from the fact that they have not lost to Newcastle in any of their previous 12 league meetings. Last season's fixture finished 1-1 with Anthony Gordon and Josko Vardiol on target. And Manchester City have actually scored 15 goals at St James's Park in their last 5 league games there. So that's an average of 3 a game. If they score 3 this weekend, they're walking away with 3 points. Let's take a look at some Newcastle assets for you. First up, Lewis Hall, who we recommended last week as a longer-term option. Didn't expect him to play last week, and he didn't, although he did come off the bench because Dan Burn was sent off in that defeat to Brentford, and he will miss this one, which means Lewis Hall will definitely start. 7 assists from him last season, despite being hit with a few injury problems. And Newcastle's next 5, not too bad. City at home, Everton away, Spurs at home, and Burnley at home. And then the derby against Sunderland. Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento make Newcastle United a much better team. So maybe now is the moment where Hall will not just come into the team as a replacement for Dan Burn, but as a long-term replacement for Dan Burn. In midfield, there are still doubts over Anthony Gordon. He's missing England's international matches, of course, and Harvey Barnes is likely to profit. He scored in game week 11 against Brentford, and he's very much a player who scores in batches. He got 9 goals last season, but his goals came in very small batches. Game weeks 3, 4, and 5, he scored. Got a goal in game week 11, got a goal in game week 15, and then game weeks 30, 31, and 32. So when he scores 1 in one game week, the chances are he'll follow it up in the next game week. That seems to be a theme for him. So who knows? Maybe he'll get another one against Manchester City this weekend. As for Manchester City assets, Jeremy Doku last weekend against Liverpool was absolutely sensational. 5 attacking returns for him so far this season, although it should be noted that none of them have come away from the Etihad. However, this weekend, he's likely to be up against Kieran Trippier, who on his day is a fantastic fullback, but his best years are behind him, and Jeremy Doku is like lightning, and he's one of the trickiest wingers on the planet. So I'd expect Doku to start against him and do very well against him. If he's free, it could be well worth you looking at him as a potential waiver pickup. And Nico Gonzalez is one of those 4-point returners. He's got 3 returns now in his last 4 games for City, 8 points, 4 points, and 5 points. He's hit double figures for DEFCON 6 times this season, although he's only reached the threshold twice, but he has been there or thereabouts. The only question mark over Gonzalez is how soon it's going to be before his place is taken by Rodri. It could be as soon as this weekend, but I would expect him to start this one with Rodri on the bench. At Ellen Road on Sunday at 2 o'clock, it's a game between Leeds United and Aston Villa. And Leeds United haven't actually beaten Villa at Ellen Road since 2016, which was 6 games ago. Villa are also unbeaten in the last 5 meetings, home and away, winning 3 of those games. And the last meeting ended 2-1 to Villa with Emi Buendia among the scorers. He got the winner, and that was back in January 2023. Leeds assets for you to consider. Brendan Aronson is the pick of the bunch for them. He's got 4 attacking returns for the season, 1 goal and 3 assists. All 4 of his returns have come in his last 6 games, and each of his last 3 have come in his last 3 home games. So Brendan Aronson, very much someone who does damage at Ellen Road. We already mentioned that Emi Buendia has a history of scoring winners against Leeds United, and he is in fine form right now for Unai Emery's side. 5 attacking returns in his last 6 matches, and Villa's next 2 look very appealing indeed. Leeds this weekend, and then a trip to Wolves. Another option for you from Aston Villa, Yuri Tielemans returned in that 4-0 win over Bournemouth, picked up an assist for his troubles as well. Based in his form over the last 11 Premier League games, and that spans this season and last, he's got 5 attacking returns. He's integral to the way Aston Villa play. He is a touch of class in the heart of their midfield, and he is now fit and potentially firing on a weekly basis for Villa. So I would expect him to start this one, and it would not surprise me one little bit if he made an attacking impact. And then the big one at 4:30 on Sunday is the North London derby. It's Arsenal taking on Spurs. Arsenal are unbeaten against Spurs in the last 14 league games at the Emirates Stadium, winning 4 of the last 5. They did the double over their rivals last season, winning 2-1 at the Emirates and 1-0 at Spurs. Son Heung-min has scored 4 of Spurs' last 5 goals against Arsenal. He will not be doing that this weekend. Lots to talk about here with Arsenal and Spurs because these two sides have both been affected by injuries over the international break. Arsenal look like they've lost Gabriel for a minimum of a couple of weeks. He limped off injured for Brazil in their game against Senegal. Similarly, Pape Matar Sarr was off injured as well for Spurs. We'll move on to him in a moment. And Ricardo Calafiori was unable to play for Italy over their 2 fixtures and was eventually sent back to London Colney to continue his recovery with the Gunners. So that means that there are defensive options aplenty for Arsenal, but who do you go for? Lots of options to choose from. Christian Mosquera has played the most minutes out of himself, Piero Hincapié and Miles Lewis-Skelly, all of whom have a shout at a first-team berth going forward if that Gabriel injury is confirmed to rule him out for a few weeks. And similarly, if Calafiori's injury rules him out. Mosquera's played 294 minutes so far this season. He started 2 Premier League games. But crucially, most of his games have been as Arsenal's right centre-back. He played left centre-back for the full 90 minutes in the Carabao Cup against Port Vale. He played 15 minutes in the Champions League against Olympiacos as the left centre-back. And he played 18 minutes against Atletico Madrid as the left centre-back. Other than that, he has been filling in as William Saliba's alternative on the right-hand side of defence. As for Piero Hincapié, well, there's 2 routes for him to get into the team because he can play as a left centre-back or a left-back. He is on international duty with Ecuador. He's played once. They have another game on Wednesday at 1:30 in the morning when they take on New Zealand. He's played left centre-back for Arsenal once, and that was against Brighton in the Carabao Cup. He has played 5 games for the Gunners, but 4 of them he has slotted in as Calafiori's replacement as left back. Now, Calafiori may well miss this as well because he's got a hip injury. So does that mean that Hincapié will play as the left back and Christian Mosquera will play as left centre back? Or where does Miles Lewis-Skelly fit in? Because he, unlike Hincapié, who's travelling back from Ecuador, has not been on international duty. He has been training day in, day out at Arsenal. Now, if you're going to ask me who I think is the most likely pair to play at the weekend, I think Hincapié is most likely to play as Arsenal's left centre-back. I think. It wouldn't surprise me if Mosquera got the nod, but I think Hincapié is certainly the most natural left-sided defender. It sounds, and Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted this, that Ricardo Calafiori's injury is not that bad. But if there is any doubt, it wouldn't surprise me if Miles Lewis-Skelly was preferred. Now, the reason Hincapié, I think, will get the nod over Mosquera is because of his past positions played. At Bayer Leverkusen, the vast majority of his minutes were at centre-back. So even though Arsenal have been preferring to play him on the left-hand side of defence, he has played as a centre-back more often than not. And he does fit the same sort of mould as a Gabriel. He's a very intense defender, very front-footed. 128 games he's played as a centre-back versus 49 as a left-back. So I think Arsenal will line up against Spurs if the Gabriel news is bad and if the Calafiori news is bad, with a back 4 of Timber at right-back, Saliba as right centre-back, Hincapié as left centre-back, and Lewis-Skelly as left-back. But it sounds like Calafiori will be okay. So I suspect in that case, the person to waiver, if you're looking for a route into that Arsenal backline, is Piero Hincapié. Arsenal have also got some potential returning gems who may be available on the waivers. Kai Havertz is near enough due a return. He got 9 goals and 3 assists over the course of last season in the equivalent minutes worth of 20.8 games. So that's better than a return every 2 games. And he replicated that the season before in 2023-2024 when he got 13 goals and 10 assists in the minutes equivalent of 29.1 games. Arsenal have a huge amount of football to play between now and Christmas. 11 games in the next 37 days. So I would expect a lot of squad rotation And I think even if Victor Gyökeres is fit for this one, and I think he quite possibly will be, Kai Havertz will not be far away, and he will be getting a lot of minutes sooner rather than later, although I wouldn't expect him to start this one. He may be on the bench. Martin Odegaard, well, this game is probably going to come a little too soon for him. He did go away with Norway, but more as a supporter than an active player. He is, of course, his country's captain, and he was there as they played over the international break. Interesting one, Martin Odegaard, because he has had seasons where he's been absolutely sublime. He scored more goals that weren't from penalties than any other midfielder level with Frank Lampard in the history of the Premier League. But was that an anomaly? Well, this season he's really struggled for minutes. Played 90 minutes in game week 1 against Manchester United and did really well, racked up 0.38 XGI. Game week 2 managed just 37 minutes before he limped off injured, 0.10 XGI. Game week 3, similar story, I'm afraid, just 20 minutes before he limped off injured, where he did very little. And in game week 4, he did even less in 17 minutes. But in game week 6, when he returned from injury at St. James's Park in that win against Newcastle, he played just 8 minutes and racked up 0.25 XGI. The first sign, really, that he was starting to find his feet in this Arsenal side again. And he followed that up again in game week 7 in a 29-minute spell where he racked up 0.21 XGI. So really minimal minutes over his last 2 appearances. What's that? 37 minutes, and he racked up 0.46 XGI. So he's starting to show that he can have an impact at the right end of the pitch, but will he be able to make himself available enough? Because his injury history is really starting to alarm Arsenal fans. Again, I don't think he'll be available for this one. Don't think he'll even be involved. Don't think he'll be on the bench. But if you want to root into the Arsenal midfield, he is going to play week in, week out. He's the club captain. And I think we will talk about Eberechi Eze's role at the club a little later when we talk trades, because I do think his minutes are now at risk from the imminent return of Martin Odegaard. Last season, by the way, Odegaard played the minutes equivalent of 25.2 games and got 12 returns, 3 goals and 9 assists. Noni Madueke is likely to be on the bench for Arsenal in this one. Apparently, he was very close to being involved against Sunderland. We still don't know who Arsenal's preferred option is on the left. They obviously have Leo Trossard right now, who's playing very, very well. I think the shirt is his for the time being. But Madueke came for a lot of money, as of course did Eberechi Eze. And I think it could well end up being between them at the end of the season as for who plays on the left the most. He is, of course, also a rotation option with Saka, and we've already talked about how many matches Arsenal have got to play between now and Christmas. So if you get him Madueke, he will get a lot of minutes, and he did look very good before he picked up that injury in an Arsenal shirt. Spurs options are plenty as well, potentially on the waivers. Dom Solanke may well have been dropped by a few impatient managers. He is very close to a return, and he is a very good striker. First choice centre forward going forward for Spurs when fit, I suspect. I think he'll be on the bench for this one. Keep an eye on Thomas Frank's pre-match press conference for further information on that. Pape Matar Sarr, we mentioned, limped off injured for Senegal over the international break in the same game that Gabriel limped off injured for Arsenal and Brazil. Sarr has started the last 2 for Spurs. He's got 4 attacking returns for the season from 6.3 games in terms of minutes played. So he has shown that he can have an impact at the right end of the pitch. So let's see if he's fit and available for this one. João Paulinho is another one of those DEFCON safe bets. He's picked up 4 defensive contribution returns in a row now, and he's got 3 attacking returns for the season, which has come as a bit of a surprise. And then a longer-term target for you from Tottenham. Dejan Kulusevski has been pictured back in training. Whether or not those pictures are true or not, I'm not sure, but there's certainly rumours that he is set to return imminently. One for the future, not for now, but when he does return, and if he returns to the same sort of level that he showed last season for Spurs, could be a very astute pickup for you. And then on Monday night, on the 24th of November, an 8 p.m. kickoff between Manchester United and Everton. United have not lost at home to Everton since 2013. Yikes. That was 12 home matches ago. And United have won the last 3 at Old Trafford by an aggregate score of 8-0. So it doesn't bode well for David Moyes and his return to Old Trafford on Monday night. Last season, United won this fixture 4-0 with Joshua Zirkzee and Marcus Rashford both scoring 2 goals apiece. As for your options, Casemiro is in some fine form right now for Manchester United and for his country. Scored for Brazil over the international break, picked up 29 points in the last 3 game weeks, has 5 attacking returns for the season, including 3 in his last 3 and 1 for Brazil, as I said. And he's hit DEFCON in 3 of his last 4 matches as well. So even though you hear the name Casemiro and you think he is absolutely not a viable FPL asset, right now he absolutely is, as is Amad Diallo, because Benjamin Sesko has a knee injury. We don't know how serious it is, but if it is serious and it is going to rule him out for a sustained period of time, it could mean a change of position for Diallo. He's been playing as a right wing back, but I think he's first choice to fill in as one of the number 10s behind a central striker. So the way I would see it is that Brian and Mbeumo and Diallo could well play as those number 10s behind Cunha. And Diallo, even though he's not been playing as a number 10 and has been playing as right wing back, has got 3 attacking returns in his last 4. He's a very popular player at Old Trafford, and I would expect him to be first choice as an option if they need him further up the pitch. The other option for you, which is more of a roll of the dice, is Joshua Zirkzee. We mentioned that he got 2 goals in the 4-0 win against Everton at Old Trafford last season. He's not had much game time this season, just 82 minutes. But in that time, he has managed to rack up 0.8 XGI, which is very, very respectable. And it could be that with that injury to Sesko, Zirkzee is given a reprieve of his United career. As for Everton, Michael Keane is their highest point scorer now after he put in another excellent display in game week 11. He's got 5 defensive contribution returns for the season and 2 goals. So while we were all looking at James Tarkowski as a potential DEFCON beast, we all failed to realize that the real Kaiser Soze was Michael Keane. And Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is another option for you. 3 attacking returns for him this season from an XGI of 3.2. His XGI form away from home is a bit hit and miss, 0.24, 0.65, 0.26, but then more recently 0.03 and 0.09. He is a set-piece threat, though, and there will be some Dewsbury Halls available on those waivers. And let's take a look now at our Game Week 12 top picks. A few rolls of the dice in here and a few that could turn out to be absolute gold. First up, Piero Hincapié. We've talked about Gabriel's injury. It did not look good for the Brazilian, and Hincapié is the most natural replacement for him. He is also an option at left back with Calafiori down. So it could be that even if Mosquera fills in for Gabriel, if Calafiori is not fit to play Tottenham, Hincapié could be the option at left back. The only thing to say about Hincapié is that he is on international duty with Ecuador. And as I said, their final game takes place at 1:30 in the morning on Wednesday. So the game is at 4:30 on Sunday. It should be enough time to not concern Mikel Arteta too much, but Hincapié could suffer from international fatigue, and that is something that will not impact Miles Lewis-Skelly. His minutes should improve because of Arsenal's injuries at the back. If Gabriel is out for a sustained period of time, and if Calafiori is unavailable for this one, Lewis-Skelly could easily be involved. So it probably wouldn't hurt if you miss out on Hincapié to try and get Lewis-Skelly, put him in your starting 11, and he'll either play or hopefully not play at all, and then you'll get your first player off the bench. In midfield, Marcus Tavernier is worth picking up this week. West Ham rank 19th for expected goals conceded, so he will get chances at home to Nuno Espirito Santo's side, and he has got 2 attacking returns in his last 4 games. And further up the pitch, Liam Delap is still high on our priority list. He's back from injury and suspension with doubts over Enzo Fernandez's fitness, and with the impact that a target man seems to have on João Pedro's form, I would expect Delap to be a first choice starting centre forward for Chelsea moving forward. And let's talk trade options as well. Dominic Solanke could be involved for Tottenham against Arsenal, could even start in that one. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I would expect him to be on the bench. He got 9 goals and 5 assists last season under Ange Postecoglou, 19 goals and 3 assists prior to that when he was at Bournemouth. Frustrated owners may well be open to a trade, and if they are, now might be the time to move for Solanke, because when he plays, I think he will keep that shirt, and it would not surprise me in a World Cup year if he starts to show the sort of form that might make Thomas Tuchel open his eyes to Solanke's potential. Eberechi Eze is one we mentioned earlier in passing, and that's because of the Martin Odegaard factor. He is set to return from injury very soon indeed. And that could impact Eze's minutes. He's been playing in Odegaard's role. He will not be chosen over Martin Odegaard in that role. Odegaard is the club captain and is integral to the way they play under Mikel Arteta. Eze is a more naturally left-sided attacking midfielder, but right now Leandro Trossard is playing out of his skin, and Noni Madueke is close to a return, and Gabriel Martinelli is close to a return. He is a huge rotation risk going forward. So if you have Eberechi Eze and you're in a league with an Arsenal fan or two and you think they might take the bait, you might be able to get some decent value for Eberechi Eze. Jack Grealish is a midfielder I'd be looking to move on. He's had no returns in his last 4 games now for Everton, and Everton's fixtures are not good either. Their next 5, they go to United this weekend. Then they have a home game against Newcastle. Then they travel to Bournemouth, which is not easy. They have got a home game against Nottingham Forest, but then they go to Stamford Bridge as well. So really tricky fixtures for Everton, and Jack Grealish's attacking impact has started to dwindle of late. And then in goal, we're looking at Nick Pope as a possible trade out as well. Newcastle defensively still rank very highly. They're 3rd for expected goals conceded, but they are in poor form. Fans are demanding change, and it has not gone unnoticed by the Toon Army that Nick Pope is not the best with his feet. They have got a huge distribution issue in terms of moving and passing out from the back. And when Aaron Ramsdale is available on the bench, he is better with his feet. So it would not surprise me if sooner rather than later Pope lost his place. He, of course, came off injured last time out. So it could be the perfect opportunity for Eddie Howe to start Aaron Ramsdale in that game against Manchester City, or certainly not, if not this week, then the following week. So your to-do list ahead of game week 12. Keep an eye. Don't watch. It's boring. But keep an eye on those remaining international fixtures for any more injuries. There have already been some key ones, so there could be some more to come. Keep an eye on the pre-waiver deadline press conferences for news on the likes of Dom Solanke and Arsenal's injury problems as well. And of course, there will be post-waiver deadline press conferences as well. Keep your eyes and your ears to the ground for them, because they will help you no end when it comes to who you pick up in free agency. And a little bit of homework from us. We are on X and Instagram at FPL Draft Zone. Please do us a favor and follow us there. We're also on Blue Sky at FPLDraftZone.bsky.social. And we mentioned it earlier. We'll mention it one more time. Why not, eh? It's not getting tedious, is it? Not remotely. But please, pretty please, give us a 5-star review if you listen to us on a podcast platform of your choosing. And if you're watching us here on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. But that is it for this show, for this week. We may well have an extra bonus episode before game week 12. More on that hopefully to come. But this is it from us for today. So until next time, good luck in those waivers. Good luck in free agency, even if you need it. Good luck with the rest of the international break. Hopefully none of your FPL draft assets are affected by injury. And until next time, it is bye for now.